of the time, maybe 95, maybe 99, it's somebody you built a relationship with. It's weird. Yes, it happens. These things happen when you're doing a cold exposure, meet somebody at a gas station, you sign up. You know, there's been stories like, you know, Mark signed up, someone put a flyer on his car. Mark's not really a friend anymore, but, right, this came from a flyer. This was in another company, right? You know, that happens, but that's far and few between. The reality is it's all about building these relationships. Okay, so people don't care what you know until they know that you care. That's another little tidbit about building relationships, all right? Remember that. You know, honestly, that's an affirmation that I have. I have a daily affirmation. I have daily affirmations that I read every day. And I ingrain that personally in my day because I'm a human being. We're all human beings. And the reality is, human beings, we think sometimes of ourselves, right? First. You guys follow? It's true. But people don't care about you. For most of the time, they're caring about where they're at and how they can be helped. And that's how if we want to attract people to this business, because the reality of recruiting is attracting, it's all about them. How can we help you? How can this business help you succeed? People don't know. People don't care about how much you know or how much Ben knows up here, you know, talking about the business during the overview time. They don't care. All prospects care about is how much you care and how can it help them. Okay? So that's building relationships for me. Some things I do. Exposure. Okay, so we're exposure. We've already touched a little bit on exposure with your warm market. Okay? Actually, we've touched a lot on exposure with cold market. Okay, always compliment people is what I was starting to get to a few minutes ago, maybe 10 minutes ago. One thing I always do, okay, one thing that's always helped for me is to expose, when I'm exposing people cold market, I'm complimenting them, okay? I'm complimenting them, right? And so, compliments and have a reason. And a lot of times the compliment is the reason. So for example, let's say you went to school with somebody and it's been 10 years, and you're calling them about the business. All right, say Chad and I went to school together. Hey Chad, look, I'm calling you about something we haven't talked in a while, but I thought about you because you were always real popular in high school, you know a lot of people. Or because you're always a positive guy, I'm building a business, I want to surround myself with positive people. Right? Compliment, compliment, compliment. And that's how, look, we all have things that we do, we all have, every training up here is going to be different. Every trainer is going to be different. They have different things. But one thing that's worked for me is complimenting people. So somebody compliment them. And that's a reason. A lot of times the compliment is the reason why you're talking to them, because there's a gap. When you're talking to people about the business, there's a major gap. Okay? Here's the gap. Here you are. I know you, or I know you for 30 seconds, maybe met at a gas station, or I know you for 10 years. Whatever it is, I have this relationship at whatever level it is. And then you're talking about a business opportunity. Where's the gap? Right? Why is this happening to me right now? Is a lot of times what prospects are thinking, like, why are you calling me? Like, why me? You guys ever feel like that? Like, why am I going to call somebody and talk to them about a business? Why them, right? Well, that's the gap you got to fill by complimenting. So, like, let me give you another example. Let's say you're at a gas station, you're talking to someone. I'm going to fill that gap real quick, right? Meet somebody, look them in the eye, hear them in the eye, talk to them. Look, you have a great car. Find a reason to talk to them. I'm a car guy, I like your car. Found a reason. You have a nice tie, I like ties. All right? Or you have a Boston accent. I heard you talking to the gas station attendant. You have a Boston accent. I have a Boston accent. Are you from Boston? Always have a reason, and then compliment. And a lot of times a compliment is a reason, right? Like, nice car. I like to associate people with nice cars, right? You must be a sharp guy. You're dressed sharp, whatever. What do? Well, that's awesome, because we're actually expanding in your area, a business, and we're actually looking for sharp people. So now you're not weird, right? You've closed the gap. Now it's not strange that you're talking to him. This guy at the gas station is saying, well, okay, he's talking to me because we have something in common, and he's looking for somebody like me because I am a sharp guy, right? And so connect that gap. Okay, so whether you're exposing somebody, there's a nugget on exposure, right? We talked a lot about exposing your warm market list with the order of in which you say and do things when you make those calls, and also try to complement, okay? So is it a numbers game? Last thing on exposure. Is it a numbers game? Yes or no?
Yes.
Trick question. Yes and no. Here's the thing. It's a simple function of numbers, but it's not necessarily a numbers game. Like, so for example, let's say you're a rookie in Secret. It's all good. We were all there at one point in time, right? And then you have Sam Parzo, right? Sam Parzo, right? New bronze in the area, almost silver, I think, right, Sam? Sorry, I'm putting you on the spot here, right? You have Sam Parzo.
Soon.
Right? Soon, right? Sam's pretty good at talking to people. Okay? Well, if somebody, it's a function of numbers. So it is a numbers game, but the better you are at talking to people, the less numbers you need to get to the same place. So one fallacy, if you will, is to just strictly say it's a numbers game. It's not a fallacy. It's incomplete phrase, if you will. Because the reality is it's a numbers game plus a skill game. You know, and I'm not going to sit up here and tell you like, hey, it's just a numbers game, expose everybody and you're going to make it. Nah. You know, you can certainly burn through your warm market. Certainly. You know, you could say the wrong things. You know? If somebody's really open and interested and you get them in front of a third party, maybe your support team, right, your upline, whatever, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, you're going to have a much better shot even if you aren't very good yet, and that's the goal. When you're new, you get it with your support team to help you make calls. Okay? But the reality is, the better that you get and the more you take responsibility on your own business, probably the less numbers that you're going to need to succeed. So make it a point to go through. So what if you do both? What if you go through the numbers and you're really good? Wouldn't that be awesome? That's what we should all be going for, right? So it's not that, oh, I get to work less because I'm really skilled at talking to people. It's go through the numbers, rock it out, get really good at it. This indirect, this direct method, you know. And how do you get good at it, guys? Going back, tying everything back to my personal story, and I think pretty much every success story out there, whether it's, you know, somebody who is in network marketing or, you know, in any type of a business and anything, it's always about sticking through the tough times. You know, like Rich Schott will tell you, you know, he has several businesses. He's a very successful guy, and he'll tell you that it's all about sticking through those tough times, right? So the reality is, that's how you're going to get better, by coming to these meetings, by listening to these trainings, by hearing different, you know, speakers that do things maybe a little differently, picking up nuggets from every individual leader in the market, okay, and applying that learned knowledge, which is what you're going through right now, and turning that into activity knowledge, which is doing it and falling and scraping your elbows and knees a little bit, okay? All right, that's a little bit on exposure. So it's yes and no, it's a numbers game, but it's also not, know that, okay? So following up, exposure, following up, the fortunes in the follow-up. Here, you know, this is talked about a lot. I think everybody pretty much knows that follow-up's key. You don't just talk to somebody once about the business and forget about them. So this is a rule of thumb, okay? Rule of thumb here is never cross anybody off of your list never cross anybody off, period, unless they've joined Secret or they have passed away. And that's actually not a joke. I'll say some jokes in here and I'll kind of laugh and chuckle so y'all laugh with me because I'm not very funny, okay? But that's actually not a joke until people pass away. And unfortunately, if you have a big list and this is what you're doing, your working list, that will happen. Okay, it's happened to me, unfortunately. But never cross anybody up, because here's why. Someone could tell you no, and it could be 5 years from now, and they're in a totally different situation than they were when you first talked to them. It might be the day after they got in a fight with their spouse about money that you call them. The key to recruiting and follow-up and and really mastering this, right, is to be a robot when it comes to getting rejection, right? Go for no. Raise your hand if you read that book before. Go for no. Yeah, phenomenal book. Write that down. Definitely do it, right? Go for no. Okay? So here's the thing. Another little nugget or tip with follow-up is always have a reason to follow up. Always have a reason to follow up. Don't just casually follow up with somebody, because the reality is you only have a certain amount of calls to make to that person. You only can expose the person and invite the person out to a meeting or do whatever you're going to do to get that person in front of the information. You really can only do that so many times before they do what? Stop it. Right? And so I think that's a big mistake that I used to make, and that sometimes I still make it because I just want somebody to join so bad. I'm like, do it. You know, so I always got to tell myself, like, stop, I have a reason. So what do I mean by a reason to follow up? Don't just follow up for no reason. I have, like, Nicole Wong's coming in town. That's a good reason to follow up with somebody. You know, I've been dripping on this girl for a long time, okay? She's in a company called NA Power, right? Dripping on her for a long time. And, you know, I'll send her texts here and there, but, like, I don't just want to follow up with her, say, how you doing? Hey, have you thought about the business? When you're calling, have a reason. So what I was doing is I'm saying, hey, look, I know it wasn't the right time before, but I must say something. You got to come see Nicole Wong, because she's incredible. You know, here's why. I went into edifying Nicole Wong, okay? So every time you follow somebody, have a reason. That way, your follow-ups, you're using them wisely. You guys with me? Yeah. Okay. Sponsoring. Okay, sponsoring. This is a whole nother topic, but I put it under my recruiting training, because what you're trying to do really is sponsor somebody in a way in which they recruit more, and thus more recruits come onto your team, and then you can taproot them, right, in their contacts, which is going to help the both of you. Right. So when somebody joins a business, they're at their highest level of anxiety and their lowest level of knowledge. And that's typically a dangerous situation, except for one thing. Their excitement level is also probably at their highest. Write that down. They're at their lowest level of knowledge, their highest level of anxiety about the business. But the one thing is that they are most excited. Going back to in between your ears, okay? If you probably look at the success in your own organization, most of your success in the past has probably come from times that you've been excited. Am I right or am I right? Good. I knew you guys would agree. Okay. So the thing is, when somebody joins, that's a precious time, because they're super pumped about this business, yet they need you the most because they're the lowest level of knowledge and the highest level of anxiety. So when again, here's the thing, like, we can have a whole training on sponsoring, but as far as recruiting goes, okay, there's blueprint training. I'm not going to get into sponsoring, right? But what I will say with respect to recruiting, all right, is when you sponsor somebody, you literally need to point them in a direction and fire. And how you do that is by eliminating all the other clutter out there that they're going to get their head and hands on. Clutter like, you know, sitting on YouTube and watching videos for 10 hours about how the business. Ignorance on fire is more powerful than knowledge on ice. Now, as a sponsor, it's up to you guys to point them and direct them in the right direction. Like, come to SU, right? You know, let's do the blueprint within your first 24 hours. Let's get to your top 10, all right? Because they're at the highest level of anxiety, but also their highest level of excitement. And you need to take them through this recruiting process, get them in front of other leaders and in front of other trainings, and make sure that you're literally there with them, making their list, helping them make calls. Which brings me to my next thing, which is tap rooting. Because recruiting is not just recruiting people you know or people that you've met, but it's also recruiting people that you've recruited recruits. And that's how you get to the next level, is tap rooting. All right? So tap rooting is basically, the whole reason why we recruit people into Secret is to get to their people. Because you can't just recruit 2 people and expect them to sell $25,000 a week in volume, or whatever it is.
Right.
Unless they're like, it's not going to happen. So the whole goal is to recruit people right and get to their people. So tap rooting, therefore, is extremely important, right? And so with tap rooting, again, it's all about urgency. So write that down. Tap rooting is about urgency. Because here's the deal, guys. Your new agents are like a time bomb. And they have a wick. And that's so some of the wick is longer than others. And the second they sign up, it's lit. And that wick's lit. Now you can extend that wick by bringing them to a super regional event, Nicole Wong, and they might get excited again and extend their wick a little, maybe extend their wick. They're not as close to blowing up, right, which means dropping out of the business. Okay? And I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Yes, people drop out, right? The reality is some of you might not be here in a year from now. That's just the reality of business. But nobody here falls in that category, right? So how long's your wick? Right? How long's your wick? So when you have new recruits and you want to taproot them, you got to taproot them. It's all about urgency. It's all following through, not just going through the blueprint and getting them to write the list down. It's about getting their list, sitting down with them, and helping them make calls, showing them some of this stuff, showing them the indirect approach. Now our team website, by the way, when they go on the